Welcome back to Sergeant Major Sit Rep. Today I've got a guest, and it's a really good deal to have a guest because this guy is going to inform you about gold. So let's bring him on here. Hey, how you doing? Why don't you tell the folks who you are, who you represent, and what you do?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me, John. So I'm Jonathan Rose. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of Genesis Gold Group. So we're a precious metals firm that help people roll over their IRAs and 401ks, or maybe they just want physical metals, directly into their hands. So people have a lot of questions on how to participate in physical metals, and that's obviously something that we help people do. A little bit about me, as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not originally from Kansas or anywhere like that. Originally from the UK, from London. And actually grew up in the financial sector in London, where I was very fortunate to work for some of America's largest AAA rated banks, such as Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, even Prudential Securities, where I worked on the trading pit called the LME, which actually is the London Metal Exchange. The equivalent would be maybe the New York Stock Exchange, where people have the different colored blazers, they're shouting, waving their hands up in the air. It's complete pandemonium, but it's controlled pandemonium. And I actually used to work in the base metals market, which would be assets such as aluminum, copper, tin, zinc, etc. And next to me was the smaller trading pit, which was precious metals, obviously gold and silver being one of them or two of them. And I always had a fascination with precious metals because even as a child, my grandfather used to give me British sovereign coins every Christmas. I still have those coins today. And in fact, my children now have them. And happy to say they're worth a lot more today than they were back then. But even when I used to trade on the London Metal Exchange with these big American banks, I always had the fascination with precious metals. Some of the top, I would say, UK London-based traders, I would ask them, precious metals, like what's the best way to invest in precious metals? And they would tell me something that resonated with me. They said, if you were ever going to invest in precious metals, the safest way to do it is to physically hold onto the asset yourself. So I'm holding one right here. This is a gold kilo bar. It's
very
a good little
nice.
paper. It's pretty heavy. And there's a few ways you can invest in precious metals, right? There's gold ETFs, electronically traded funds. You don't own the metal, but you get exposure to the spot price. There's gold mining stocks. Again, as an investor, a few variables there, because if you don't mine any gold out of the ground, you as an investor do not making any money. Plus, you're also investing in the management team there. So again, the safest way, in my opinion, to own gold, physically hold on to the asset. So, fast forward after I left the London markets and I came to America, gosh, I think that was in 1997. I was actually at that point got introduced more to the precious metals market, and that's where I really made a name for myself. So much so, I got approached by some big banks such as HSBC and AIG, and I was invited out to Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and I would actually go on to consult for some of these big banks and actually set up gold depositories in Southeast Asia, and also teach their financial advisors at AIG how to invest in gold. Because believe it or not, back in the early 2000s, in Asia, how they would invest in gold was very fascinating. It was with gold jewelry. So, gold bracelets, gold necklaces, rings. The issue there is, yes, they're investing in gold, but it's not pure 24 karat gold. They're paying a premium for the design, the intrinsic value of that, kind of jewelry. So that was a very fascinating time. Obviously, fast forward to today, Genesis Gold Group, there's a right way and there's a wrong way to invest in precious metals. And one of the reasons why I do this is simply because I'm sick and tired of hearing about all these free gimmicks out there. $10,000 in free silver. You've probably seen these commercials yourself. If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true. And what I find out today is that a lot of these people that invest in these big gold gimmicks is they're the ones that are being fleeced and paying high premiums for these types of coins and bars. So, today we're very proud of, working with many patriots like yourself out there and educating the people on the right ways and the wrong ways and the pitfalls to avoid when investing in precious metals. So, John, I'm throwing a lot at you right there, but that's kind of like the quick background of how I started in London and how we help people today. But, we're in unprecedented times in this economy, and I'm sure we can chat about that in a little bit more length. And I think it's imperative that people get an education today and an understanding of what's happening to this great nation and what they can do to prepare for what I believe is going to be an upcoming crash like we've never seen before.
Well, we do agree on that, but let me start with my first question. The name of the company, Genesis, was that selected because of a religious background, or it symbolizes a beginning, or both?
Yeah, no, but yeah, 100% both. It's not something we lead with, but we are actually a faith-based company, and we do have a full-time pastor on staff as well. And Genesis 1:1 in the beginning. So to kind of reiterate myself and get reestablished back into the gold market, we wanted to do it a new way, a different way, because when it comes to people's retirements, that's a big decision. People have been working for their entire lives for these IRAs or 401ks. When you get to roll that over, you want to make sure that A, you're working with the right company, and B, you're making the right decision. So in lifetimes, that happen, there's some forks in the road, right? Then, picking your life partner, big decision. Buying your first house, big decision. Rolling over, what to do with your nest egg, big decision. So, Genesis was really put together with like-minded people, with it being an American first and a faith-based company, where we have the right people at hand who are qualified to be able to talk about IRAs, qualified to be able to handle IRA rollovers. And we're very selective with the types of people that work here in our office. So Genesis Gold Group, we're based here in Beverly Hills, California. Don't hold that against me, John. But, with about 30, 35 people within the organization, out of those people, I would say 4 people, maybe 5, are allowed to discuss the money, the finance, the moving of the money, because again, this is intricate. This is people's life savings. So we want to make sure whoever they're speaking to is very knowledgeable, has the financial credentials and the backgrounds to be able to help people answer their questions and transition from maybe some of these riskier assets that they're currently in into more of a safe haven, such as gold and silver.
Well, it's refreshing to hear that, number one. And number two, we do have something in common, because sounds like your grandfather and your father have something similar with my grandfather and father, and that was the passage of coins as a kid. And I've done that. I've worked in real estate, and my assistants and people that in my life for a Christmas gift, I will generally go out and buy silver. Sometimes silver coins or just bulk silver. And that is what I pass on as a Christmas gift, because that is worth, spot price plus whatever you purchase it for today. But tomorrow it's going to be more of an asset, and it's something tangible that they can hold during Christmas time. They get something that's small and heavy, and you see them unwrap it, and it's a shiny piece of silver. It's an ingot, and it does something. And especially if it's a coin. I've got several coins, and I know the coin, there's coin value, and then there's metals value. But some of the coins, you think back of the history, I've got some of the early 1800s silver dollars. Who's touched that coin? This coin has been through our country's history, and now I'm holding something that's 100 years old or older that is still in good condition. It still has value, and it just makes you wonder how we got to where we're at today at $35 trillion in debt. And like we were talking about, I did a show on this a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about the economy and the world just falling apart. And my show today is going to be more of the same, but coming off the gold standard to reduce inflation, I think started this snowball. I'm not an economist, but I can read like the next guy, and whatever Janet Yellen does seems to be wrong. And she's predicating her movements off the Fed and the dollar being off of the gold standard, which I think are all completely backwards. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. A great question. A lot to pick up there. But I will say before I answer that, you're one of the few people that I've ever heard the same response. Like, I used to hold these old gold coins that I've had from the 1800s, and I used to tell people, who's held this coin? This could have been in like Roosevelt's hand or Lincoln's hand. You just don't know. So that's something that's always historically blown me away with the thought of that. Now, in terms of absolutely coming off of the gold standard in like 71 under Nixon, that's really where I think all the troubles really began, because that's when we went to free trade and we left the Bretton Woods economic scale, which was something implemented after World War II, and we rolled out the printing presses, and we started printing the money to a tune, like you said, of nearly $35 trillion today. Which, let's face it, people get numb. It's just a number. People just say, "Oh, we have all this debt," but to put it in perspective, every 90 to 100 days, we're paying $1 trillion in interest on the debt that we have. One step further, that's actually more than our US national defense budget that we're spending every 90 to 100 days just on the interest alone. So it's a very scary thought, because I always tell people debt does matter. And you can't keep printing money and not expecting any ramifications. Now, we know the US dominance, especially with the US dollar, has definitely ended. And that's why we have countries like the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China. They've band together. They want to create their own currency, back it by physical metals. And I always tell people, John, we don't have a crystal ball per se, but we have a pretty good roadmap. And we know what's going to happen next and what's coming towards us. So even Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, has clearly said, expect more bank failures to happen. Expect more regional banks to fail. Now, you remember last year, in April of last year, we had Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic Bank. Those banks failed. That led to sell-offs. That led to fear in the market. And we all know what happened after that. So expect more of the same to happen. Commercial loans with these bad banks, they're about to fail as well. So we have a multitude of issues, whether it's domestically or internationally, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, threats of domestic terrorism, supply chain issues, the next COVID outbreak, who knows what it's going to be. But people need to understand that we have more problems today to digest than we did, let's say, even 10 years ago. So when people have instability in the marketplace, not just on our home soil, but also abroad, they look to a higher ground for safety and security. And that's really where the impact of gold and silver plays a crucial role. And I do get a little ticked off when I turn on the news and people say, we may miss a recession. We are in a recession. I mean, just
100%. We are there.
Last week, I think, who was it? John Deere, one of the, tractor companies, one of the founding companies of America and building blocks, if you ask me, that they were been around since the late 1850s. They're now closing their plants in the Midwest, laying off generations of workers and moving their plants to Mexico for cheap labor, which is just absolutely ludicrous. You have companies filing Chapter 11 bankruptcies. Small shops are struggling. So, this is just at the tip of the iceberg with this recession. Look what's happening in San Francisco, whether it's homelessness or just, malls being completely empty. Things are in dire straits. And when you understand the scope and magnitude of what's happening and where we're heading, it's very important to understand that if you have IRAs or 401ks, you want to make sure you have something that's going to be a safety net or an umbrella to protect from a financial thunderstorm, which we're about to, I believe, have here next year. Because I think it's a pivotal election year. Everything's going to try and stay the status quo. Both parties don't want any major upsets in the marketplace. But once whoever gets into office, hopefully Trump, right, it's going to be a huge economic upheaval to kind of take away what we're currently going through today. And I think the burden is going to be the debt, because, like I said, debt does matter. And when that first domino falls, you better make sure you have something in your portfolio that's going to protect you, forward moving for that rainy day.
Well, that's a lot to digest there, but let me put one thing into perspective. You're right. When we talk about the debt, and I am a state representative, so we do our budget, which is nothing close to the federal budget. But when we seem to talk about debt and we talk about the numbers, people don't realize how much this debt and how much these numbers actually mean. We can say $35 trillion all day long, and people don't understand the magnitude of that. But you made a comment on the interest being $2 trillion alone. That is the estimated cost of a war between the United States and Iran. And I know this from having served in the military. I served 35 years. Sergeant Major Academy, we kind of broke some of these things down, what it costs to actually conduct a war, not just with the weapons, but the supply trains, the funneling of troops in and out, the whole entire cost. Not to mention the supply efforts in the United States that will be disrupted for a war if we go to some large scale combat. $2 trillion is what it would cost to fund that war. So if that puts it into perspective for somebody, we talk about these foreign wars and what they cost and what it means to the U.S. economy. That's our interest, just our interest alone on the debt we have. It's just not sustainable. And I think everyone agrees that we are going to have some type of collapse. And I'm hoping the collapse is manageable, because we hear all the time from Powell and Yellen, they're looking for a soft landing or an easy landing. They use that term quite a bit. And I don't know, a crash is a crash. So of what magnitude, we don't know. And I have concern because I'm at that retirement age. My wife hopes to retire soon, and we're looking at the physical metal. We're looking at our portfolio to see what we will move around for our best interest. But let me ask this question, and this is what I get. I've had it in the comments, and people talk to me about it. Let's say I do have this nice little stockpile of physical gold, silver, whatever the metal is, and we do move to a crash. How do I turn that into a product, a supply, or cash if needed? What's the physical means of turning this brick of gold into money that I can spend?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when people do roll over IRAs or 401ks, normally they invest in assets like this. This is a kilo of gold. It's pretty heavy, and it's actually very beautiful as well. This is from a Swiss manufacturer. So a kilo of gold. But a lot of times people will say to me, John, how do I use this? How could I spend this? I don't have a hacksaw. I can't cut it up into 5 little pieces. And we really listen to our clients when they were telling us this. And we actually came up with a brand new product that we're very proud of. And I have this on my desk too. I'm going to hold this up to the camera. It's kind of going to answer some of your questions here. This is called the Prepper Bar. And it's a very innovative, I'm going to just hold one up here. It's very innovative. It's the only bar it's a thin like a credit card. It fits in your wallet. In fact, here's my wallet here, just a quick demonstration. I call it wealth in your wallet. And you can literally have this, pull it out. And what makes this so unique is that you have 3 different denominations here: 20th of an ounce, quarter of an ounce, 10th of an ounce. And you could literally, I'm not going to break this one, but you could break it off, and you have fractional pieces that are divisible, tradable, portable. You can stack them, you could break them, trade them, or not. It comes in gold and silver. It's called the Prepper Bar, and they can find these at theprepperbar.com if they just want to purchase these. They're also eligible to go into your IRA. Now, if you want to have other types of products out there or learn how to roll over an IRA, they can go to genesisgoldgroup.com or give us a call at 800-200-4653. That's 800-200-GOLD. And we'll show them how to purchase gold and silver coins and bars at the lowest possible prices, which coins and bars we believe will serve you better in the long term. And you mentioned about, turning this gold into something liquid you can use. Well, if you want something you can use, obviously you can carry around a Prepper Bar with you, because you can break it off. There you go. You have one too. And it's
I do, sir.
Yeah, and it's a form of currency. Now, if you ever wanted to turn it back into cash, then obviously any gold brokerage company would purchase gold or silver, and you can do so in that fact. Now, what's interesting is that obviously Genesis Gold Group, we specialize in IRA and 401k rollovers. So people that, they reach about 65 years old, they have precious metals in their IRA, then they have to start taking distributions. And distributions is where it gets interesting, because if you take a mutual fund and you take a distribution, you're just cashing out the value. When you have a precious metals IRA, you take a distribution, you have the choice at that point. Do you want to liquidate at the price of gold or silver, or do you want to take an in-kind distribution where you can have this and it gets shipped right to you and you now hold on to it? And I would say 90 to 95% of our customers who take in-kind distributions want the actual metal because they want something tradable, spendable, barterable, and portable. And a lot of times people liquidate these IRAs and it's more of a legacy piece. They're leaving it to family members, to loved ones, passing it down from generation to generation. And with all the fiat currency and money being printed and the threats of central bank digital currencies, which is the digital dollar, which is a bad idea, by the way, folks. There's nothing good about a digital dollar, not in my opinion, at least, because that's a form of tracking and dollar tracing and knowing what you're spending and how you're spending. This is really the last form of currency that's private still. And people want a private currency, something dependable, something they can rely on. Gold's never been worth zero. And in my opinion, based on what's happening in the world today, I think we're going to see a surge in gold and specifically silver prices, which make it a very advantageous asset to be holding on to, especially, I believe, for the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, that's interesting that you brought that up, and I'm glad you explained that. And I've done my best to explain that and how I buy silver. A lot of times I'll go to a local pawnbroker that deals in metals. A friend of mine, been friends for a long time, and he cuts me a little, spot plus just a little bit of markup on his. And when he gets something really cool in, coins or some larger ingots or whatnot, I'll go take a look and I'll buy a couple things. But I know that I can do the same thing, that I can sell it. But when you start rolling this with the IRA, it gets complicated. So I encourage everybody to talk to your people, talk to your specialist, and let them know this is your intent. This is your long-term plan, and let you help guide them through that. I think that's a great idea. And that's something that is going to be a necessity. It's not going to be it's not going to be a want thing anymore. Pretty soon it's going to be a necessity. And I think you got to get in it now before it becomes a necessity. And you mentioned one other critical thing about the digital dollar. This is getting kind of into my bailiwick and background a little bit, but a lot of people don't know what the Internet of Things is. And when you try to explain it and break it down, it's really simple. The Internet of Things is everything that is connected to the World Wide Web. Your washer, your dryer, your refrigerator, your car, your phone. If we were to go to this digital dollar, and let's say the Democrats continue to push this global warming, climate change agenda, and we finally come up with the carbon credits and the carbon tax, they're going to know how much you use. And if we're on the digital dollar, they will just take that right from your account. That money will disappear. Whoa, you did too many clothes this week. We see it on your website, so we're taking away X number of dollars for climate change. And it's scary stuff. This, like you said, this is a physical item that is at home in your safe. They're not going to get it. So let's wrap this up with saying you got a great product. Give us the phone number again for folks to call.
Yeah, if they want to know how to protect their IRAs or 401ks, or you have a question about your retirement account, they can call us at 800-200-GOLD. That's 800-200-4653. But if they go online, John, to genesisgoldgroup.com, there's a box to fill out there, and we'll send you our free definitive gold guide. I also do monthly seminars with myself and Mike Lindell, so you can kind of ask questions about, how an IRA with gold and silver actually works, how to protect yourself. And it's really, I think, about getting an education right now and being proactive and not reactive. And again, if you love the prepper bars, they can just go to prepperbar.com. They can buy them right there online. And if they use the promo code PREPPER, they'll get 10% off on the silver, 5% off on the gold. It's a fantastic product, very innovative. And anytime you can take something innovative and pair it with something with a track record such as gold or silver, it's always a win in my book. So I just think these are so unique. I think it's just something everybody should have at least one.
100% agree, sir. Well, thank you for coming on. I love the product. I'll be talking to you soon. We got to get some more of these things going. We've got a couple of IRAs we need to deal with ourselves. So that's going to happen in the very short future. But I'll wrap it up by saying, I think your company, you personally, myself, everybody I know in the real estate industry, everybody I know in finance, we all have different political views for some parts, but we all do believe in the same thing, that the crash is upon us. Exactly when it's going to happen. We like you said, we don't have that crystal ball, but we know it's going to happen. It's this close. We're just waiting for it. So prepare now. Give these guys a call. Get your gold, silver, your precious metals. Take care of your IRA and take care of your future. Again, thank you very much, Jonathan. Thanks for coming on.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. Wow, a lot of information there. Again, you can go to the website, the phone number, and you can go to treasuretrust.com, Prepper Bar. Take a look at it, because it is something it's going to happen. We all talk about this all the time. My brokerage, other clients I've talked to that have been through this numerous times, they all see the crash coming. They predicted this because this is what has happened every time.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest.
To get your free definitive gold guide and get started learning more about investing in gold and protecting your retirement from uncertain times, visit treasureandtrust.com now. Fill out the basic contact form and a member of the team will be in touch. Again, that's treasureandtrust.com or call 855-625-7760.